Where do you think most people first go wrong with email deliverability?
People in general just take email for granted. How does my email that I'm sending to you find you, Vit? It's going to be looking for what?
Let's go.
We're going deep.
Whilst this is all like we get in super nerdy here and super technical, I just want you to keep in mind like why this is important.
I'll bring this home a bit more, but let me just go into my users. I'm showing this to the world. I've got to be careful.
The core reason of it all is that you're trying to separate from your main domain so that you're trying to silo the reputation for each.
The purpose of it is to basically create what I call tiers of isolation.
Can I still set up the subdomain, the same subdomain in HighLevel for sending purposes though?
Oh yeah, you can. You can live in both places, no matter where you're sending from in the platform. You just got to make sure that the entire team knows exactly what they need to do.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode on the HighLevel Experience podcast. Our guest today is somebody I've been meaning to chat with over a while now, especially because in the HighLevel community, anytime email deliverability comes up, this guy's name always pops up. He's a fellow high-leveler who's been in the trenches, both using and reselling HighLevel. And before that, he spent over 2 decades designing, securing, and optimizing enterprise networks for Fortune 500s. These days, he's known for helping agencies, marketers, and SaaS founders actually get their emails seen. We're going to be talking a lot about email setup, email deliverability, whether it's working with SendGrid, Postmark, Mailgun, or building custom systems inside HighLevel. He's on a mission to simplify the complex, protect domain reputation, and make sense of email performance. Because let's face it, when we're trying to build something for our clients, set this up, it can be confusing if you're new to the game. So let's dive into it. Please welcome to the show, Matt Ratliff from Funnel Techie.
Awesome intro. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, great having you on, mate. Look, you and I, we've both been around long enough to see how complicated email can get and how easily it can be overlooked. For somebody running high-level campaigns, where do you think most people first go wrong with email deliverability?
So I've been doing this specifically with HighLevel since 2020. And the main bulk of my audience, my customers, are from HighLevel. So I've seen all sorts of things. They notoriously, what I see across the board is that people in general just take email for granted. So let's say they see HighLevel and it's this, shiny new thing. They want to migrate from maybe ActiveCampaign or Keep to maybe save on cost. And so right from the get-go, they migrate their list over, and they forget that there are certain things they need to do ahead of time. So they just go ahead and blast their list like they've been used to. And that on day one is going to tank the domain reputation. It's going to cause all sorts of issues. And so that's only going to compound over time. And so it gets worse and worse. So that by far is the number one thing that I see across the board, not understanding those best practices. And we can kind of dive into those.
Absolutely.
But that's notoriously, definitely the number one thing that I see.
Yeah. I'm going to take an approach of a beginner here. I'm going to question this process, and for the benefit for you guys listening, I have my own process, the way I set it up too. So I'd like to do an unbiased review on that as well, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
But as a follow-up to what you just said, the cost saving can be an appeal.
Yeah.
And HighLevel is amazing with being all in one. So the appeal is let's cut those extra expenses. Totally valid reason to do that. But can you explain technically what happens when you do that and the considerations you need to take in place? Because like you said, this is a common thing. And I even have sometimes clients sign up on our white level of SaaS. And whilst we send them all the information about this and we inform them, hey, before you start any emails, there's a bit of a process. Sometimes they skip it and they just go and they blast. Yeah. And then they wonder, hey, your system is crap. We're just landing in spam.
Yeah. Okay. Let me give you and everyone else kind of the recipe. I'm an open book, so I'm just going to give it to you. What happens in the very beginning when you come over into HighLevel? Of course, you're going to do the onboarding. You're going to probably initially start off with using lead connector email, and that's fine. I've got pros and cons on related to lead connector email. I would rather people go in their own direction, maybe use Mailgun, but that's from a tech guy's perspective. Using Mailgun directly gives me a ton of logs, and I've got access to Mailgun's support in case I ever need them to do something for me. And it's very quick, it's easy. Lead Connector email is still good. So you can actually have really the best email deliverability of any other platform if you do things right. But if you were my client, I would push you into Mailgun. That's one thing. When you onboard, they're going to walk you through these steps of getting all the different authentication records. So that's going to be SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. So from the get-go, you're going to have those dialed in so we can check that off our list. The next thing, let's take it from the perspective of your brand new business. You don't have a list. So now how are you going to get your contacts? Well, you're going to be doing maybe some Facebook ads, some organic social type stuff, and you're going to basically influence people to come your way. And so that's how you're going to grab their attention, and they're going to opt in, and things should roll into a good cadence of sending of email. The one thing over time is that let's say that you're building this list, and let's say that you've done a really amazing job and you continue to build it up and you're up to maybe 5,000 contacts. And this is just a hypothetical. You continue to send bulk email every week, but then all of a sudden you notice that your open rates began to decline. And so that's one thing that we've got to watch out for. Predominantly now, I think it's different within Australia. For some reason, I've noticed that a lot of my Australian clients, they've got a lot of Microsoft contacts instead of Google. I don't know if that's the case with you, but here in the States, I noticed that the biggest mailbox provider that's on our list are Gmail contacts or those with Google Workspace. One thing that Google does is that if I mark you as spam, Google's not going to provide that through a feedback loop mechanism in any sort of way. So you and we're not going to know that this person marked you as spam. So they still appear active on our list. And so that's a negative signal. And so over time, that begins to compound. And then people kind of go through different things where you and I, as a marketer, we continue to send email out. Our messaging might resonate with them for a time, but then they become sort of fatigued with the messaging. And so they disengage with us. They still see the emails, but they're not opening. They might instantly delete it. And so that's another negative signal. And so predominantly what we need to be able to see is that we need to see who have been disengaging with us. And so I've built a tool that kind of gives us that clarity, which we can dive more into. But that's going to be the natural cadence and the natural decline of your list. We need to watch out for those that basically have stopped opening their messages. From a deliverability context, the open event is still king. And there's going to be some applications, some email programs where maybe they're blocking the open pixel entirely. That's true, but I don't see that across the board. There's some ways to navigate that system, which we can dive into, and that's part of my system that I like to discuss with you. But that's the issue. As your email list declines, people don't know what to do. They're seeing that at one point their opens were, let's say, above 50%, and now it's in the 20s. So once you're kind of at that level, then you know that across the board there's a lot of spam emails landing in spam. So that's a big issue for sure.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to email deliverability, there's kind of like two things, right? There's the technical setup, which you've alluded to with DNS records. Yeah. And then there's the behavioral and the actual content and what you send out and is it relevant and all that.
Yeah.
But it kind of feels like, that first bit, the technical is where you start. What I like about HighLevel, and we're more focused on SaaS in my view, on my end, we resell HighLevel under brand Stand Out from the Pack. Mm-hmm. And so my focus is our customers is, educating them how they can use it and then do, different workshops and webinars with them. And, we also have upsells for services. So if they want to, we do set up for them, but not everybody does. Yeah. So in my view, the way I've been educating my customers is trying to keep it in the app. So like, hey, set up your LC email, which we both know on the back end really is Mailgun.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But there is limitations that you've mentioned. Just like when I spoke to Kristen Richmond, another really good email expert in the community, in the HighLevel community, she says the same thing, that she prefers to have Mailgun directly because it gives her more. And that's a totally valid reason. What I'm curious, it's like, when you find the right balance of the ease of use? Do you know what I mean? Because like when you go into
onboarding,
probably, especially when it comes to those clients that are not technical at all. in my view, like if I send them to Mailgun, like, hey, you need to do your own Mailgun and all that, that just seems even more. But it'd be interesting to see your system. But I was thinking maybe before we do that, what if I show you my process?
Yeah.
And you can tell me what you think. It might be useful for the clients. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's wrong either. I'm totally unbiased here.
Yeah.
But let me share my screen.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Okay. So I've prepared my screens earlier for this. So what I have is, where I start is I've got a spreadsheet, which helps me when I get a client, they go to domain, if they have a domain. That's whole another thing, right? If they come across and they're like jimmybobplumber@gmail.com, then straight away I'd be pushing them to, hey, you need to have a Google Workspace. If they don't even have a website, then it'll be like, okay, well, you need to buy a domain. And then if you do have that domain, let's get you on Cloudflare. It's going to be easier to manage the DNS in HighLevel for all the records. And then I'd pushing them to Workspace. But let's say they have that. So then what I do is, and I'm just showing you like a little, you guys welcome to, copy this if you want. But this is just a simple way for me to generate all the different subdomains that I need. So this is where I would put their domain. Let's go Billy Bob, Billy Bob's Plumbing.com. All right. That would automatically update here. It's just a simple formulas. Now, the reason I've got all these subdomains is because I like to set them up that way and I usually set up for my clients, like I said, LC email as well. So I just go in the sub account, and I do have a default domain on the agency level that the sub accounts can use initially, like from the very get-go.
Yeah.
And what I've done is I just purchased a separate domain. So I've got standoutfromthepack.com, my main agency domain. And then I purchased another one, which is very similar looking, as a burner domain that sub accounts can use as a sending subdomain. But it is only meant to be like for those first few days. And that's only if they do ever send anything. So that's what normally shows there initially, but right now it's changed. So this is the sub account here is for this actual podcast that you're listening to, HighLevelExperience.com. So what I do is I set up dedicated subdomains, and you can see there's quite a few. There's a LC dot, there's a cal dot, MTG dot, notifications dot, OTP dot, payments dot, reply dot. Actually, this is not even a full list. I actually do more. So this is what I would normally do. I would also do WKF, WKF2, and WKF3. So these are all the subdomains, that I'm mentioning here. If you guys are not seeing this visually, so the reason I do this is because of this domain configuration. And the way I understand this and the way I've done my research is that this kind of spreads the risk, so that calendar domain means any notification related to calendar events, like reminders, will be sent on behalf of the cal dot, in this case, cal.highlevelexperience.com subdomain. Anything to do with payments and such and so. Now, with workflows, I do have a different process. With workflows, I actually set up 3. You can't see it in this case, but this is where I would do the WKF, WKF2, WKF3. Because that's generally where most of the emails are going through for sending. And the way this works is it goes one for one. So one contact might get it sent through that one, another contact through a different one, and then the third contact will get it through the third one, and then it goes back to the first one. It's just, I always thought it just makes it, spreads the risk. So that's my setup. The only other thing, aside from setting up these subdomains and setting up a default headers, is I do the postmaster for Google.
Good. Yep.
And on Google Workspace, I set up the DKIM record because that doesn't come naturally, like by default.
Yep.
That's my setup, technical setup.
Yeah. Most people miss the DKIM part with Google Workspace, by the way. And so it's good that you got that baked in. So a lot of people miss it. And just for the audience, the DKIM key, or what's called the domain key, that is what the reputation of the domain gets added from or added to. So whatever the DKIM domain is what the reputation will be built upon and stacked. And it's really the most important record, even over DMARC. DMARC gives us, that extra bit of security so that if you didn't have your DMARC policies dialed in, then I could spoof you very easily. But the DMARC is kind of the security lid on the security jar, right? It caps everything on, everything's tight. That's the final piece. But the DKIM part's the most, is the
Definitely, yeah. I actually want to pick your brain on DMARC because that's an area that definitely deserves a lot more. Before we dive into that, I was just going to show the guys because I'm a big fan of helping out.
Mhm.
And I only know where that is in Google Workspace. I always drive all my customers to Google Workspace. So that's the only place I know where
Same.
that is.
Yeah.
It's just because, I don't know, it's easy. I've got a mate of mine who is in the IT security space and he's very advanced. And he's now, you got to go Microsoft. He has a lot more permission control and all that. So I don't know. But
I
I
disagree with that, but that's just my 2 cents.
yeah. So guys, if you just saw my setup and you're like, hey, well, this is cool. Like maybe you're doing this to the same extent and maybe you're not, and you want to fill the gaps. Like we just talked, the DKIM record is something that's not, it's not default as part of the setup. Even if you host your domain with Google Workspace for your email, Google will only like it's super easy if you have it on like Cloudflare, for example, because you just Google picks it up and it'll push those new records over there. But it will not include DKIM. I'm always been like puzzled by it. I'm not sure why. That's an interesting question. I don't know if you know why they don't do it by default.
I don't know why they do it by default. I don't know if they're giving us the ability to change the selector. There's a reason for it. For them, I'm not quite sure why they don't do it from the get-go.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So guys, so if you go to Google Workspace account, you just got to head over to apps and then click on Google Workspace and then select the Gmail one. And I actually recommend you pin it afterwards because it might be something that you might go quite frequently to. So you hit the Gmail. Let's give it a second. It's going to take you to this screen. And then what you need to click on is this authenticate email. I'm just going to, just 1 second. I'm just going to hide the records before I show you. So I'm going to click on that thing and then I'll show you. Here we go.
And those records, just so you know, those are public records. So it's okay that if you did share it would be okay, but
Really?
it's all public. So yeah, it's okay to expose what you've got because it's very easy to look up.
Okay. All right. Well, there you
Just so you're aware.
Yeah. That's
The
good.
The cool thing is that once the DKIM key is turned on, it's an RSA key token. So whenever you go into, so let's say you've generated the record, you've added it, and then now you've clicked the start button, which you could go over, and then you send an email to me, then there is an RSA key that's created, a private key. So that, of course, is just inside the email envelope. So that's a different story.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, we can go through that too. So what you guys seeing here now is basically I went that extra step and I clicked on the authentication and then it takes me here now. I've got a couple of different domains hosted with my Google Workspace for different emails because I'm a big fan of having just one inbox for all my businesses. But once you do that, then there's going to be like a button to generate a record, initially be like blank. And then Google will generate that record for you. So you're going to get a TXT record, which is this to Google on the domain key, and then the text record value, which is just a long string code. And that's something that you just copy over and put into your DNS, let's say Cloudflare. And then you just hit start authenticating. And that's all I've ever been doing. I've never done anything else than that.
Yep.
Yeah. So where from here? Where do we go from here, Matt?
Well, okay, so we've got that. SPF is a part of it. I believe that doesn't Google Workspace give you the SPF record? So I think they're showing
that
you.
comes through once you authenticate in the, yes.
So now if you want to, let's talk about DMARC because you mentioned that. So that would be the last record as a part of the foundation. Mm-hmm. Do you have a record that you want to show?
I can show you yes, I can show you just 1 second. Just from this sub account.
We can do that.
Yeah. So let's go with the LC HighLevel experience.
Yeah. Let's talk about HighLevelExperience.com. So if we just took the organizational domain, put it inside of Google Workspace, we've gone in, we've created the SPF record, we got the domain key in place. And now DMARC needs to be added to the organizational domain, so the root level. And so what that means is that it's also going to be a TXT record. It's going to, the host portion, we may, if you've got an actual DNS record available, we can show it.
I'm pulling up my Cloudflare.
Oh, you are? Okay, good. Yeah. And then we'll talk through it. And for the audience, we're going to add or show what it takes to do a proper DMARC record for the root domain. but there also needs to be one specifically for each subdomain that you create for email. So we need one for every one of them, ideally.
Okay.
Yeah.
You may not realize this, but for the last 2 years, I've had a secret weapon that has made running my business inside of HighLevel so much easier. You see, there is so much that HighLevel can do, which is amazing, but it's a lot of work to stay up to date with it. And even more so if my customers are asking me questions about it. And this is why I'm excited to announce that our show is officially part of the HLPT Creator Network. This is HighLevel Pro Tools, an organization that I've been using to run support for my customers, as well as give me a ton of awesome epic add-ons that make running, launching, and differentiating my SaaS inside of HighLevel so much easier. And now that they're an official sponsor of the show, they've done something pretty bloody awesome. If you go to hlpt.com/experience, you can get one of their incredible tools absolutely for free. No purchase necessary, just for being a listener on the show. So head over to hlpt.com/experience, grab that free tool, and I promise you this is going to improve the conversion rates on your page. Check out all the other stuff that they offer and tell them that Pete sent you.
You know what's wild? There's a smarter way to grow your agency and help more local businesses without adding more stress. That's what HighLevel does. It's your all-in-one sales, marketing, automation, and AI system. No more duct taping tools together or paying for 20 different subscriptions that barely talk to each other. I've been using it for 5 years with my own white-level version, Stand Out From the Pack, helping Aussie businesses like Dimitri, a Canberra electrician, who now runs his jobs, quotes, calls, and follow-ups with our built-in AI employee. If you're an agency, HighLevel lets you do exactly that. Support your clients in new ways while building stable, recurring revenue every month. And if you're a local business, partner up with somebody who knows your market and your industry. If you're in Tasmania, my mate Jared from Boulder Digital, for example, has you covered. If you're in Canberra, that's my turf. Check out standoutfromthepack.com.au and we'll get you sorted. The point is, there's probably a high-level agency or SaaSpreneur near you. We're seasoned marketers, tech-savvy super nerds who love helping local businesses grow. We're global, we're connected, we're high-levelers. Now, I've got something really special for you guys. I've negotiated an exclusive 30-day HighLevel trial that's double the usual just for you. Sign up your agency through gohighlevel.com/vid or upgrade your existing plan, and I'll hook you up with over $3,200 worth of bonuses, resources, templates, and snapshots I normally give to my private clients only. So whether you're scaling an agency or leveling up your business, start with the right system. gohighlevel.com/vid or team up with your local SaaSpreneur and let's make business simple again. One platform, one login, no duct tape, just results. Interesting. Okay, let's dive into that. Now, I don't know if I want to show all the records, if they are public or not. Is there any particular record I shouldn't show?
No, I mean, it's all publicly available. It's all fine.
Okay, let's have a look here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to authenticate. While I'm doing that, what's your take on Cloudflare?
I would recommend everyone use it just because it gives us, it's very quick. So there's data centers all over the world. And so the replication of any changes happens fairly quickly. Even if you've got a time to live set differently, those updates happen underneath that time to live usually.
And it's an interesting one because everything you just said makes total sense. Yet they just had that like massive thing that happened like towards the end of last year, right?
It's tech and things are going to happen. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, everyone I think should definitely use Cloudflare. And yes, there will be things that happen, but it's an unfortunate trade-off.
Yeah. All right. So what you're seeing here, guys, is just a bunch of subdomains that I've got. Domains that I've got for different businesses. And I also have a cold email infrastructure set up, which is why you can see all these variations of Stand Out From the Pack, today systems and all that. I'm not sure if you're into cold email, Matt.
I know how to run that beast. Yeah.
All right. So let's go to the HighLevel experience. So that was one there, and this is the main one. All right. So HighLevelExperience.com. By the way, this is Cloudflare that I'm in right now. So Cloudflare is, we already mentioned it. It's a CDN. It's free to set up and
it's free. A lot of security features built in.
Yeah, and HighLevel has a direct connect feature with Cloudflare and GoDaddy. So those two are makes it super easy when you set up sub accounts at scale. it just pushes the data across. Well, I'm just going to go into the DNS records for the high-level experience. So you asked me about DMARC, okay?
Yeah.
So let's type in DMARC. So these are my DMARC records.
Okay, so let's stop right there just for a moment. As you can see on the screen here, there's an underscore DMARC and nothing after it. If you see that, we know that that's the record that's going to be attached to the root domain or the organizational domain. For any DMARC record that has dot and then a name after it, the dot name will be the subdomain DMARC policy. So it's good that you've got those DMARC settings for the subdomains. Let's go into the root domain first, or the root DMARC. Let's edit that one. Okay, this is very important, and not that anyone would mess it up, but it happens. So V equals DMARC1. So notice that it's all in capital letters. So the RFC standard for DMARC states that we have to capitalize it, which seems kind of odd. It's just DNS, but the RFC specs state it. So we've got to capitalize it, and it's going to be a semicolon. And we could put a space after it, but we don't have to. But the next tag that comes right after it has to be the policy. So it's DMARC and then the policy. And the policy can be none, it can be quarantine, or it can be reject. Now, I want to steer everyone to go into the reject route, but there's some caveats to it. When you're talking about the root domain, if I came in and I was helping you, I would want to understand every platform that has the capability to send email on your root domain's behalf. And so we would go through that and we would figure it out and we would check off every one of them so that I know, so that I'm going to check each one of those entities to make sure they've got proper SPF dialed in and DKIM for the domain key. If all of those come back and we can answer yes to all of those, if they're all in place, then this policy could change to reject, and that's going to help us. But for the mass majority of us, to play it safe, we want to keep it none until you know for sure that we can change it. But it goes hand in hand with SPF and DKIM. So just remember that. The next tag that he's got is the RUA tag. It's the aggregation report. And so anytime that you send an email out to a mailbox provider, 24 hours later, the mailbox provider is going to send a report back to VIT about where those emails landed and what happened. And so it's going to show us if we got some sort of DMARC reporting tool that we can go in and see those reports that the mailbox providers are sending back. Now we can say, oh, this email came from a source that either I gave permission to send email to, or maybe it's an eye opener. Maybe you're like, well, email shouldn't be sending from this platform. Maybe I need to go in and investigate. So it's really important to have a DMARC reader for where these reports are going. And DMARCian is where you've got those set. So that's good. The MEL2 lines are fine. The RUF, so the RUF, this right here, I can't really highlight it, but so that's the forensics piece. It gives you a lot more information, but it's sad. The mailbox providers typically don't honor the RUF tag, even though it's there. That's something. So I'm a part of the engineering, what is called the Internet Engineering Task Force. And there's lots of things in that group, the working groups for for DMARC, for example. And I'm inside of their email chain and I see the communication, the people that literally built DMARC, they'll talk about it. And so notoriously across the board, the mailbox providers tend to ignore it. We don't really know why, but we suspect it's because of the amount of data they'd have to store. And so that could be a part of it. And so even though we've got a tag for it, we'll probably never really see any forensics information. So the next line, the FO, is the failure option. And typically this is defaulted to 0. And I'm like you, I like changing it to 1 because now I want to get some sort of report based upon whether SPF or DKIM, if there's a failure on either side, misalignment on the domain. So I want to see that.
And so then if it was 0, what would happen?
So, well, it's going to say, well, both SPF and DKIM have to be misaligned in order to get a failure report, a failure option. So if you set it to 1, then now it's looking at either one of those two sides. And I want to see that. So that's a best practice.
Okay, good.
Yeah. The next one right here, you could actually ASPF. So the A portion of this record stands for alignment, and SPF is the center policy framework. And it's already set by default to relaxed. You've got =R it's relaxed. You could set it to strict, but that's an advanced setup. So again, you'd have to know what you're doing before you set it to strict mode. And then there's another one, ADKIM. Again, we're looking for alignment for the domain key field. And that is also set to relaxed by default.
Is that something that I should have like this?
So I like to see it in practice, but you could effectively remove both of those and you're achieving the same thing because they're both set to relax by default.
Because it doesn't mean anything, because it's relaxed, it doesn't really force anything.
Yeah,
Can you
exactly.
just explain is this to do with the subdomains, like the relationship, or I never understood this particular one?
Yeah, so that's a great point. You're asking all the great questions. So DMARC, so in your email envelope, let's say you're inside of HighLevel, in your from display line, it's going to ask for your from name, Matt Ratliff. And then in your from email address field, who is the sender? Would I put Matt at funneltechie.com, or maybe I want to honor my subdomain that I've got inside the account. So maybe I would put Matt at m.funneltechie.com because maybe I'm sending out a marketing bulk email. And so DMARC is always going to be extracted from the from address field. So in this example, but this is for the organizational domain, if maybe this was for a subdomain and you put strict flags.
I'm just going to pull your contact record from my HighLevel so we can look at that specifically. Is that okay?
Sure.
So it would just mean it's just going to show your email address, but you already mentioned it, so I think we're good.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a thing I'm trying to force myself, and I'm always forcing my clients as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is important message for you guys listening as well. It's like you're responsible over the data that you show and personal data. So it's just good practice to always be mindful that if you're doing any screen sharing session, that it's your responsibility. So if that leaked on the internet, then essentially it's a proof against you that you've exposed somebody's data, right? That's how that works. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big fan of, let's say we do open office calls with our customers every week, and they all jump on the open office call, a Zoom call, and they might have a problem. And the only really easy way to help troubleshoot that problem for them is to get them to share the screen. So I always advise my clients, like, hey, you need to use a blur function. We have a blur function thanks to HL Pro Tools that it's just a one click and blurs private data. But just wanted to highlight that because you guys might be like wondering, why are you so careful? That's why it's your responsibility. It's a real deal. Especially like if you have an insurance policy, for example, which you should if you're running SaaS. My friend Sarah Cordner told me about this. It's really important to have a cybersecurity insurance as a SaaS company that hosts all these other businesses and sub accounts. You want to protect your ass. That's why you'd get a policy like that. If something happened, you got hacked, for example.
Yeah.
But on the same token, if you have policy and insurance policy like that, then you need to make sure that you've got the best practices in place to protect the data. Otherwise, the insurer is just going to go, well, that's it. You didn't really took much care about it, so that's it. We're not going to pay you out. I think this is almost like a whole another episode that this is going to be covered.
It could be, right? There's so many different pieces that we could steer into different episodes entirely. Yeah, which I'm happy to do, by the way.
But you know what I mean? Like this is HighLevel is so amazing. I'm going off tangent here a little bit, but HighLevel as a business model for anybody is so impressive, and yet you've got so many people on YouTube and everywhere blasting this as a lifestyle thing, like become a millionaire thing and lifestyle thing. Yeah. And nobody's talking about this. So it can be attracting wrong type of characters or it can be attracting really anybody. But what's important to realize is there is a level of responsibility when you decide to launch your own SaaS business. Mm-hmm. So we're this is your contact here, and you talked about the email part in HighLevel. So I can click on these three dots and click on the details, and this is going to tell us what.
Yeah. Okay. So in this case, this is good. I've got a question for you though. Okay. In the from address field, so that clearly DMARC is going to be extracted from the organizational domain in this case. So the DMARC policy is going to be extracted there, which we know from what we just saw, your policy is set to none. But underneath this email envelope, which subdomain did it use to send the email? Because that's the key. So the domain key part is what would fill that gap. So which one did we use for this one? So it's a workflow.
This is a great question for you. And I've been beating my head about this. HighLevel used to be able to show you that information right here. Used to be a
Yeah.
line that would tell you which subdomain was used to send that. And
Mhm.
I don't know why they got rid of it.
I know.
And it's so frustrating.
It
So
is
I have no
frustrating.
way. I know it's automation. So by default, it would be one of those that I've got set up, that I've got linked
It
in
would
the,
be. Yeah, which
right.
would be, I forget the syntax for it. So
Let's bring that screen back just for the guys as well. So I'm just going to go
So now
back to the
okay. We
settings.
know that DMARC is going to be pulled from the organizational domain. So now we're going to look to see what subdomain he used to send the email.
Yeah.
So that's where the email is going to be pushed from. So that's the
So we can
what's
go to
called the
email
SMTP
services,
envelope domain.
and we can just have a quick look here. And if I go to domain configuration, you guys will see here workflow domain. So this means any emails going through an automation workflow, it'll be sent on behalf of the MTG dot.
Okay.
So that would be the sending subdomain.
So
But
now we
I
know,
wonder, just to double check this, we could also
Yep.
do this. We could go to
Exactly.
a workflow, and maybe it might show us there. I don't know. You know, like
It
I
might
have
in
a,
the
this
stats tab,
is
maybe.
in this sub account, I have just one
Oh, you got it
subdomain.
set to 1% though. So more than likely it's going to be sending
Oh,
from the LC.
why is it 1%? That's
You know
an
what?
interesting one.
Let me check on my side. Let me just quickly glance at it.
That's first time I'm seeing this.
Yep. So it's a good thing that we probably did that. So let's see.
Get rid of it and then put it back in.
Yeah. LC dot high level experience is what I see it from. Yep.
And now it's 100%. Why is there 1%? That's so important and interesting. I've never fiddled around with that. Okay, let me just do a reset. Okay, we just found some critical issue. Reply dot was set to 1% as well, which I have no idea why. This is for my one-to-one. Okay, let's just go back here. Now it's all 100%. Okay, great. So where you're seeing this is in your inbox. You're, I assume, in your Gmail.
Yep.
Do you want to show that bit to the guys so they can see?
I can. Yeah. Yeah. Let me do that. You're going to see all my tabs, and that's okay.
Just yeah, show what you
I'm
want.
okay. Yeah, no worries. Let me allow it.
So what we're trying to do, guys, we're trying to show you where you can easily see, the details about an email that you receive. And this is a really good diagnostics way. And in Google, it's where you get a lot more information on these emails. So I'm going to let Matt to share. There we go. Because this is something I learned from Kristen as well. She showed it in one of her videos.
Yeah. So if you're using, and you can actually, it doesn't matter the system that you're using to check your email, but in Gmail, it's really easy. You can click on the show details tab, and down here, the sign by is the domain key, domain. So in this case, we know it's LC dot. So that was the actual sending domain on his side. So this becomes the subdomain that he used to push the email. Just real quick, just for educational purposes, the mailed by line is the SPF line. And of course, DMARC is going to be pulled from the from address line. So DMARC would have been extracted from this domain. So going back to that example, if maybe his alignment tags for SPF and DKIM, so A SPF and then A DKIM, if they were set to strict, meaning that they equaled S, if you modified it and tried to send an email in this fashion, guess what? Those alignment tags are set to strict mode and they do not match the domain. So it's good in that case that he's left it at the default relaxed piece.
Let's stay on that one for a minute. Why is this important to set it up for relaxed? I'll tell you what I think. You might set up a perfect sub account. Let's go with the example of LC email. Your small business owner might not realize that. So they might create their user instead of their business email address. They might put their personal whatever at Gmail to log into your platform. But then once they're sending out an email to somebody, it's going to be misaligned. So if you keep it relaxed, it allows them to send those emails, right?
Yeah. And the other thing we can, in just a real quick topic on this subject, is that in this envelope, we've got two domains. We got the root domain and we got the subdomain. It's fine until we get too many negative actions that stemming from the subdomain that we used. So let's say that he continued to send email like this. If this ever gets too many spam spikes or too many negative signals, it's possible, and I see it all the time, that there's a good chance for the negative signals from this domain could bleed up to the root domain because it's a part of the same email envelope. So just know that that is a cautionary thing that we could run into. People can get by with it, but know that that's a real concern and that can happen. So in my book, I would rather the subdomain be also used in the from address field Now, a lot of people don't like that because it feels weird to people to use it that way, but that would be another best practice piece that you could bake in. You don't
But
have
then,
to, but it is a best practice.
but then that because HighLevel doesn't have ability to host email addresses yet. And if I put it in there and then somebody just copied it and manually wanted to send me an email, I wouldn't be able to receive it, would I?
They're true. And there's another advanced study. If we get into it, it's going to take us a bit. There is a way around that. There's lots of things we could talk about, but yes, there is a way around that and an easy way to fix it, but it would take a little bit to explain it.
Yeah. If you
The
got time,
quickest,
I've got time. Yeah.
the quickest way, yeah, I got plenty of time. The quickest way. So like, let's say that bit, you wanted to use your subdomain here in the from address line, but now you're worried. Okay. So to your question, if someone copies it, so inquire@lc.highlevelexperience.com, by default, that email, if you went to your inbox, you send an email directly to that address, then that will land in his sub account that maybe you're not always checking because you're not really expecting it in that way. You should be, but there's also a way like, inside of the sub account, you can have it to where it forwards any messages that you do get to a real inbox. So you could go into the email services area and put a forwarding address in. So that's option number one. However, the more advanced thing, and this is going to be sort of a little bit convoluted, but we need to think through it a little carefully. So how does my email that I'm sending to you find you, Vit? It's going to be looking for what? It's going to be looking for the MX records, right? So the MX records are saying it's pointing to Mailgun. And so when I send an email to you at inquire@lc.highlevelexperience.com, it's going to do a lookup on the MX. It's going to go to Mailgun, and then Mailgun's going to send it to the sub account. Well, what if we want that direct message to go straight to your Google Workspace account?
Right.
Well, all that we would need to do is change the MX records. The point to a very quick way is just smtp.google.com. And that way it would go to your Google Workspace account as long as you've got a domain alias set up for the LC subdomain. Now that could
But
be kind of confusing for the audience, but that's the path.
yes, because I've got my main domain linked to my Google Workspace. So when you create an alias, it gives you a drop down, but that drop down only includes a list of domain domains, not subdomains. So how would you?
Let me show you mine.
Let's go.
We're going deep.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, if at any point any of this is confusing, please comment below. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment below the video and I'll be happy to answer, or I can pass on the message to Matt. This is important. Bigger picture here. Your marketing funnel for your own agency or for your clients. You might be running paid ads. You might be, doing all sorts of different strategies to generate leads. Ultimately, the name of the game is to get them all centralized into your CRM so that you can do follow-up. How do you do follow-up? Well, it's email, isn't it? So this is where it's really critical. You might be spending a lot of money on your content marketing, creating videos, everything. That takes a lot of effort in order to generate those leads. If you finally get them, but your email infrastructure is crap and it's not working, then all those monies, all that investment went to waste. So whilst this is all like we get into super nerdy here and super technical, I just want you to keep in mind like why this is important.
Well, in terms of what we were just speaking to, so you can see that I've got, a ton of domains, and you can even see some subdomains. So funneltechie.com is my brand. That's the main. And so like if I go in and create, let's take example, let's say that maybe my t.funneltechie.com, which is used for any transactional based purposes. So what would happen if someone says, well, I'm just going to email Matt at t.funneltechie.com. Well, notice that I don't have Gmail activated. It's set as a user alias domain. Well, let's say, so t.funneltechie.com is a domain alias, which means that, let me move the screen here. Means, I'm not seeing what I need to see here. Hold on 1 second. Oh, there we go. That's a pencil. I need it for my actual namespaces. So now we can see that all of these different alternate addresses are automatically going to be baked in. So Matt at t.funneltechie.com is automatically added because that was my primary account. And since I added t.funneltechie as a domain alias, it's automatically going to honor it and provide that. So it's there. So it's workable. So I will receive that in my main inbox. Yeah. the way that we do that is that let's say that we're wanting to create a domain alias, and let's pretend like maybe I've got a new one. So I'm going to go into account and I'm going to go down to domains and I'm going to manage my domains. And so I'm going to click add. In the domain box, let's make up a new subdomain. Let's put in, I don't know, lc.funneltechie.com. Select a domain type. I want it to be a domain alias. And then I'm going to click add and start verification. Just follow those instructions, get those pieces added to your DNS provider. And then once it's done, and that's now live. So that's the way forward. So what could you be missing though from this? If you are someone that wants any replies, so let's say you're sending out bulk email from HighLevel and some of your contacts reply back to that email.
And you really like to copy it. And
yeah, you may want that to go into the conversations tab in GHL. So if that's what you want, then we don't want to do this. We don't want to do a domain alias and change the MX records. So
but, I mean, if they directly hit, if I send them an email from HighLevel, they receive it and they hit reply to that email and they just reply, that will go into HighLevel, wouldn't it?
Well, let's look at your email. So if I hit reply to this one, it's going to be using that address. Mm-hmm. So you might have that has a reply to handle inside of your sub account.
I mean, I do receive replies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In this case, this right here, I'll send you a message. This should go, well, assuming that this is connected to your Workspace account, it should go to your Google Workspace instead of HighLevel in this instance of the reply.
Okay. I have to keep in mind. All right. So I'm looking at my Google Workspace. So that's come through as a reply in my Gmail inbox. Yep, I can see it. I'm not sharing screen anyway, but you guys can take my word for it. And then if I go to the HighLevel, now this is also a topic here, is how come some emails go into HighLevel, how come some emails don't? I'm familiar with this process, to an extent. For a small business client who's signed up for your SaaS, this is a common thing. They get frustrated by this. Like, how come some of it goes, some of it doesn't? They just want to know, where do they go to manage all their inboxes? So what do we do there? What would you recommend there?
Well, honestly, so HighLevel is supposed to be coming out with an inbox management tool that's supposed to be kind of a fit for Gmail or for Google Workspace. But honestly, even if that happens, it would make me a bit nervous because what's happening at that level? Google has been at this for a long time. Even if you chose to use, Office 365, that's a path too for your business inbox. And I would say to use one of those tool sets as opposed to using a true inbox that maybe HighLevel would come out with, because Google and Office 365, they're baking in all sorts of different security components. They got their spam algorithm set in place. They're very watchful over that, and HighLevel would probably have something like that, but I just wouldn't want, based upon certain things that I've seen, I would want to put my business domain in some kind of proven system that's been there for a while.
No, I'm with you on that. Ultimately, you got to be monitoring both, because if you reply to the email that you replied to wasn't an email going from, it wasn't a workflow related to email. It was the default notification email on the form that I've got set up. That's why it landed in my Gmail and didn't land in my HighLevel. But if you reply to any of the reminder for this podcast, then that would show up in the HighLevel inbox for me. That's how that.
Okay, let's see. It looks like it's, you're right. The reply channel would be mtg.yes.
Okay. Now, so if we went that path where the one you showed me, where you set it up as an alias on your workspace, what the core reason of it all is that you're trying to separate from your main domain, so that you're trying to silo the reputation for each.
Yeah, basically. So the purpose of it is to basically create what I call tiers of isolation. And so we want to identify different flows of email. So number one, the organizational route is going to be tied to your business inbox. And that's a one-on-one type relationship between you and I. The next one, we're going to go into a CRM that has the capability of sending transactional-based emails plus bulk email. So bulk email would be classified as more than one contact in a single send, right? So you've crafted a campaign, you've selected your audience, you press send. That's a bulk email subdomain. Transactional would be, I've got a call booking calendar, I've got some purchase workflows or some purchase forms. You could buy service, buy product. When those come through, the contact is expecting something. So you're going to be sending them credentials on how to gain access to whatever it is that they purchased, where you're going to be delivering the asset. And those are transactional based flows of email. And so that could be on a transactional subdomain. So yeah, that's a good example of that.
And so if I have that alias set up in a workspace to silo it out and to be able to receive emails into my Gmail inbox, if somebody literally manually grabs that and sends it to that address, I like that. But does that mean that if I send an email out of HighLevel using that through that same subdomain with that same email address, and they reply to that email, where would that land? Would that land in my HighLevel as well as the Gmail?
No, if you created the domain alias and then changed the MX records to Google as opposed to Mailgun, then that reply in that scenario would go to your Google workspace. Yeah.
Can I still set up the same subdomain in HighLevel for sending purposes though?
Oh yeah, you can.
I can.
Yeah. So it can live in both places, and you can send from HighLevel, but if you change your MX records for the subdomain to match Google's, then my reply to you is going to go to your Google workspace at that point. Yeah. So I've got reasons for establish. So I've got mine set up that way. I cannot stand conversation view inside of HighLevel. So I want to see all of my replies in my own inbox. That's just me. But a lot of people like to see it in conversations. So at that point, we don't want to do a domain alias. We just allow it to do that. But let's say that we're wanting, a use case would be you've got a large sales staff, or you've got certain people that have been instructed to watch everything inside of the HighLevel account. And so it would be better to allow conversations to take place. So reply back, it's going to land in conversations view. But if maybe the business owner also wants to see those in his business inbox, then just simply do a forward under email services to his inbox, so that now it does land in conversations, but also is being forwarded to an outside inbox. So that
the caveat to that forwarded email is if they reply to it, it just behaves differently from that
it
point.
behaves differently. Exactly. The chain, you lose all context of the chain. Exactly.
Yeah. Look, I'm a fan of all-in-one because you get the important thing here is context. So if I'm following up on a lead, I want to have a context of the whole conversation, whether it was a DM, an SMS, an email. So to me, having it all in one universal inbox, at just HighLevel, makes perfect sense. So can I still achieve the siloing aspect through HighLevel and receiving in HighLevel where I can?
Oh yes.
But I don't need to do anything other than just setting up that like a made up email address. I don't need to do much more than that.
Oh no. Yeah. You just keep it bare bones like you've been doing, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Perfect. Matt, we're on an hour and we've only covered the technical aspects, and the string feels like the string is still a little bit longer than what we've covered on the technical. There's a few more things that we could go over. I mean, the DMARC aspect, I was going to ask you on the DMARC aspect, if you have policy on your DMARC as a strict, that can help improve deliverability, right? Because it increases reputation in the view of the email providers. Am I right?
Well, so no, what happens is that, of course, we want tight security, but let's go in the favor of talking about a subdomain now. So if we go back and look at a subdomain DMARC policy, if we took yours, maybe _DMARC.mtg or any subdomain record that you've got, that subdomain was created inside of Lead Connector, assuming, or Mailgun, and that's going to generally be the only place of that record, that subdomain, is going to exist. And you've already got SPF created, you've got DKIM created. So it's perfectly safe for that DMARC policy for the subdomain to be instead of P equals none, we want it to be P equals reject. We want to absolutely protect that subdomain at all costs. I don't want that to bear risk of being, maliciously abused, right? So we want to go ahead and make sure the policy is set to reject. Now, in terms of the alignment tags, perfectly fine if we set the alignment tags to be A SPF equals strict, which is S, and then AD KIM equals S for strict. You can do that. Although where I've seen so many different things with so many different teams, with so many people in and out of their HighLevel accounts, what I've noticed is that some people don't really grasp the things that we've just discussed about this particular DMARC setup. And what they'll try to do is send an email from a totally different from address, and
Mm.
it's just going to screw things up and it's going to make things really bad for the business owner. So I would be super careful with those alignment tags unless you can really educate your audience that this is how it needs to go. And this is what we do in the actual email itself. No matter where you're sending from in the platform, you just got to make sure that the entire team knows exactly what they need to do.
This, yeah, that last bit that you said, because you might really well educate the business owner to be
Mhm.
really diligent, but then they hire
Yeah.
a new staff member
Yeah.
and they create their own they create their own user and they put whatever email address, and now it's maybe not aligned. And
Yeah. So we got to be careful. Yeah. So take that into consideration. But so if I were to give you a game plan, keep the policy set to reject for the subdomain, but leave the alignment tags set at the default relaxed setting. In
the
fact, you don't even
ASPF
have,
equals.
yeah, equals R, and you don't even have to include them because it's already set that way underneath the record itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a good, very practical tip. I
Yeah.
wonder why HighLevel doesn't, because HighLevel provides you those records automatically. Why wouldn't they do it?
The
Like,
policy, so they did have the policy set to, so they're bringing those records in. So even they've got an enterprise mailgun account. So they're bringing those records forward. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the policy now is showing reject. You could double check that on any new subdomain that's created. I think they're positioning it that way.
let's
Hopefully
just do that.
they are.
I'm just
Yeah, we
I'm just
could
going to share my
recheck it.
screen. Yeah, one more
Yeah,
time on this.
it's possible they've not because they're, if you also notice inside of Mailgun, the DKIM keys should be rotated every 6 months. And I think they're not honoring that ability.
They
So
should be
I,
rotated as well. Interesting. Okay,
yeah,
I
every
didn't know
six
that.
months. Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to go and create a new subdomain. So I'm going to go WKF,
Okay.
WKF dot level experience.com. Now I'm already logged into my Cloudflare. So I'm going to show you a real example for those of you guys listening who are new to this, why it's so awesome to use Cloudflare. Because look at this. I'm just going to go verify. I just made this up. This could be anything I want to put, right? I'm just going to go
Yeah.
WKF. It's just a shortcut for a workflow. That's why I put it there. I'm going to go add verify. And now what it's doing, it's checking where that main domain is hosted. And it's going to pick it up and it's going to say, yeah, cool, continue. And it's finding the provider, and it's very quickly, it's going to pick up Cloudflare. There we go. And I can click on the drop down. It tells me all the records that's going to be added.
Yeah. Copy
And
that DMARC policy. Let's see what they've got.
P
Set to
equals
none.
none.
So there, let me go into my Mailgun. Knowing that we're geeking out on this, I think this will be good for the audience too. Give me a moment. I'll get into my Mailgun account and I'll share that one.
You do that. I'm just going to finish this so you guys can see it. Yeah, so that's how easy it is. I'm just going to click on authorize. And here's a cool little tip for you guys. There's a propagation by default, it's just an internet thing. It takes a while for certain records to come through. So you're going to see it like this, and it's going to say unverified domain will be deleted. They will delete unverified domains after, I think, 14 days or something like that. Now, when you click on verify, it's going to come to this screen, and it's going to be, sometimes you might see some of them green right away, sometimes not all of them. And when you click verify, what happens, sometimes it doesn't happen right away, and it's just going to take you back to this screen, and then you're going to see this as unverified. And you kind of have to go in a bit of a loop a couple of times until it happens. Just a little tip there for you. But yeah, so now we've got those records, and we can go back to them. DMARC policy equals none. So you're saying on the subdomains, I might as well just make the policy strict for the subdomain.
Policy reject. Yeah. So it's going to be none, quarantine, or reject. Yeah.
And then I don't have to put the ASPF. I don't have to put it at the end because it's just there by default anyway.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'll share my screen when it's
Yeah.
okay to do that, and I'll
Yeah,
share
go
you.
ahead. Matt, I've got a feeling, Matt, that we might have to do a part 2 on, because,
Totally
you know,
fine.
when it comes to behavioral and how you set up email campaigns
Yeah.
and email warm-ups and all that,
Yeah.
that's a whole
Yeah, for
another
sure.
episode.
Yeah. So if I'm in Mailgun, let's do the same thing. Let's just create a brand new. Actually, let me just go into one that was just recently created. EM Sender is my agency or domain. But if I went into my DNS records, which
If you
DMARC
wouldn't mind,
policy do?
just pull that little thing all the way down somewhere so it hides. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to enable DMARC and let's see what it shows. It should be reject. That's what I've noticed lately on other accounts that I'm setting up. So let's see what it comes back with. So it looks like that one was also set to none. So yeah, it looks like they're still pulling it from Mailgun on this setting, which, Mailgun is perfectly fine to change it to reject, but it's fine that we do that. It's not going to hurt anything, and that's what I would encourage everyone to do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So at the beginning, you were alluding to you've got a system on how to do it, the best practices. So far, this last 40 minutes or something, we kind of went over my way, and we've investigated. You've given me a few tips, and we've explained some of the concepts for the guys listening so that everybody is a bit more educated and understands how all this works. I would like to just follow you along now and just like on, if I was your client, like if you wanted to do it like the perfect way, if we can go over that process
Yeah.
with Mailgun,
Yeah.
and then maybe also like explain. I understand like there's a lot more you can do when you have it directly with Mailgun, so that's an obvious benefit. But there's certain things that HighLevel does that are only exclusive to LC email because kind of they baked certain things in, and the pros and
Yeah.
cons, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to your screen of LC, the domain configurator. I'll explain some of the things that I do like about it and some of the things that I don't, just so that I can provide some education around it. And I think it
Okay.
could almost be simplified.
So share the LC email subdomains.
Yep.
Okay.
And then where you had it configured for various different parts of your foundation, workflows, the bulk, all of that.
Yep. Okay, cool. All right. So this, let's go back here. I'm just going to add that new one that we just added.
Yeah.
Actually, let me go to another sub account. That's actually the way I normally have it set up
Mhm.
properly. So that'll be better. So I'm going to go to my SaaS, stand down from the back, see if that comes up. Yep. All right. Okay. So let's go to settings, email services. So this is the kind of the gold standard how I do it for all the sub accounts. So this is the one that has those additional subdomains that you were not seeing before.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go to domain configuration, this is my setup.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm not there's nothing wrong with your setup. Like it's fine. If I were to simplify now, we're talking about lead connector email. So in terms of the way the email foundation, or I'm sorry, the different flows of email, what is it going to be? It's going to be anytime that we make a purchase, it's going to be a transactional based email. Anytime that we make a call booking, that's going to be another transactional email. Anytime that we send out payments could also be considered transactional in nature. And then what's the other flow? Well, it could be a bulk email for campaigns, bulk email for workflows. Because, if you've got a nurture sequence inside of a workflow, then there's going to be lots of people inside of it. So that's going to be treated as bulk email. And so that would be a bulk email flow. And so in my world, I liked having two domains. I like having a T dot domain, which is transactional, and then an M dot domain for marketing. That M dot could also be, I like different subdomains. The other one I like is email dot. So in my world, that becomes my SOP process. So T.funneltechie, M.funneltechie, or email.funneltechie is traditionally what I use. And then I append those. I like that for the different use cases. So if I were inside of Lead Connector, that's exactly how I would set mine up. So in some cases, do I like the direction that Lead Connector email has gone with our domain configuration? I do. So now we could take advantage of different domains. But let's say that in your case, you've got these different workflow domains. That's okay. But let's say that there are two different types of automations that you've got set up. So you've got your call booking workflow, you've got your purchase workflows, and you've got your nurture sequence workflows. Each one of those ideally need to be sent from separate domains entirely. Now, at that granular level, we don't have the ability to do that yet. And that's the thing that they're missing. They're missing a lot of things, but that's one
Right,
thing.
where on the workflow level, you'll be able to pre-configure the
Yeah.
default sending subdomain.
That's ideally what they need to do. And so we need to be able to identify transactional versus bulk in those cases. And so we need that. And I suspect that they will eventually do it. They just hired Sean King, which came from TikTok and then previously at Amazon as a product manager. And so I think that hopefully he'll be instrumental in sort of orchestrating all of this and making some good changes. I met with him a week and a half ago to talk about these things. So that hopefully will start to come forward, and that will be a good thing. Now, if you decide to use Mailgun, the downside with using Mailgun from this perspective is that you can only attach one domain from Mailgun if you've got your own Mailgun account. But in every case, we don't always need multiple domains. We can stick with one. So there's pros and cons of both. I am trying to push them in the direction if that, the advanced pro users like me that want our own Mailgun account, we want the ability to use multiple domains from our Mailgun account. I'm hoping that they will also allow that because clearly they've got the ability to do it. That's another piece that I'm hoping to make, hopefully, that they will start doing for us.
And aside from this, is there anything else that LC email, the HighLevel, has baked in for LC email specifically that you don't get with the other like external?
The other thing is that, so in terms of the way that the world sees our emails from a reputation standpoint, so not only are they going to be looking at, our copy. So let's assume that we got the best copy in the world, nothing wrong with our copy. We're grabbing attention with our subject lines. Our domain reputation is solid, like there's no dings, but yet the pool of IPs that we're sending your email from, those become sort of an issue. And so I don't know if you or anyone in your customer base or your client base has ever seen any email throttling from Gmail. I'm sure that you've probably seen it from Microsoft and from Yahoo. You'll get those little flags that your email has either been throttled, or maybe from Microsoft, you're seeing that the email is on some sort of Microsoft block list. And so all of those pieces are coming from the IPs that the providers are seeing. And so there's different tiers, different buckets of IPs that Lead Connector has created. And
they're being shared across agencies.
Being shared across. And so there's pros and cons to it. The way that, let's say that you have honored and done a really good job with sending email, utilizing email best practices. You even have an automated sunset policy mechanism built in, but yet Lead Connector still has you on this janky pool that is not really getting, a really good reputation from. You're still getting all of these blocks from Microsoft. You're still getting all of these throttles from Gmail and from Yahoo. What they should have done after a certain amount of time is that they should shift you over to a better, more pristine set of IPs so that now you're not only helping them in that case, but they're also helping you and honoring the good emails that you're sending out because you're doing everything by the book. And so that's another tech piece that we can uncover, but that's another big component. And that's something that they really need to dial in.
So you have an option to contact them if you want to purchase one.
Well, you're talking about a dedicated IP in this case. I've heard of people purchasing a dedicated IP and then it being pulled from them accidentally. And that's happened several times with a few of my clients. Once you get a dedicated IP, if you do decide to do that, meaning that you're the only one influencing the reputation of that IP, that's great. But you need to make sure that when you do purchase it, if you decide to go that route, that your email frequency and the cadence needs to be dialed in. So we can't just purchase a dedicated IP and then, leave for 3 months, go on vacation and not send an email for 3 months until you get back kind of thing. That's going to work against you. We need to make sure that we're consistently sending an email and working that volume and keeping that reputation up. Because at some point, all the mailbox providers are going to see that new IP, Microsoft especially. You're going to be if we look at Yahoo and we look at Gmail, even though they weigh in the IP reputation, they're more focused on domain reputation than anything, but they will still take note of how that IP is performing. But in terms of Microsoft is a little bit different. They look at many different things. One being is the IP, and you'll always be placed in sort of a neutral bucket. And so let's say you purchase a dedicated IP, you send an email to Microsoft from that dedicated IP, you're still going to land in the junk folder because they don't trust you yet. You've not proven to them that you are to be trusted. But since you are the only one influencing that dedicated IP reputation, then that in the long run is going to help you. It's going to prevent you from being throttled. It's going to prevent you from having blocks, but you still need to play the reputation game and build up trust. Mailbox provider trust is the game. You've got to game that and do a good job so that they honor with delivering your emails to be seen. That's the next piece of this puzzle.
All right. So, Matt, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. Unfortunately, we ran out of time here, and it feels like this deserves a whole another episode, which would be awesome to organize. But for the guys listening, if they want to learn more, if they want to work with you on getting this done right for their agency, for their clients, we've organized an offer. Did you want to pitch it to the guys?
Yeah, and my offer is something that I created. It's a system for HighLevel that I created, I guess, 2.5 years ago now. And it's really the bread and butter, the workhorse behind keeping your domain reputation high over time. And it's basically a way to, it's an overall engine. It comes in a snapshot. It's a set of workflows that work cohesively together. It literally took me months to build out. And when I was building it, I had to reach out to HighLevel's dev team because there were some things happening behind the scenes that I couldn't touch because I couldn't get to their code. So they saw what the issue was. They fixed it for me. And this system is really what has kept my clients, their email reputation high over time, even after I am doing an offboarding call. So I'll be on a call or doing an email program or project with them for about 3 to 5 months. And then after that time, I leave, but I leave after I teach them. But this system, though, is what will keep your email domain healthy over time. And it's called my Email Engagement System Snapshot. And it's a way really to see who has engaged with you, who has stopped engaging with you over time. Going back to the Google scenario where they marked you as spam, we don't see it. This is a way to uncover who they are. And after all of this, they'll be sunsetted. And then those sunsetted email or contacts can then be placed into a win-back series of emails that we craft or that you craft based upon my template. And then if you can't win them back through that mechanism, then we're going to segment them permanently until we decide to reactivate them later, as long as they've not unsubscribed. It's a beautiful system. You install it, you may touch it once or twice, that's it. And then it's dialed in, and then it will keep things running smooth well into the future.
Where can we find out more about it?
Yeah, it's the highlevelexperience.com/email engagement system.
Brilliant. Thank you, Matt. So guys, if you want to learn about this product, reach out to Matt. If you want to learn about the system, head over to highlevelexperience.com/email engagement system. Matt, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing such detailed information about what goes into proper email setup. I'm looking forward to have you on a part 2 if you're open to it.
Definitely.
So we can dive more into it. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, thank you for listening to today's episode on HighLevel Experience. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do me a favor, share it with your fellow agency mates and other high levelers that you think would also benefit from listening. For show notes, links, and extra tips to help you grow your agency or your SaaS with HighLevel, please go to highlevelexperience.com. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day, everybody.